Kylie Rodney case is feeling a little bit like it's at a standstill right now. The Adventures with Purpose video got so much information out that is just astounding. Let me say my little disclaimer here that everything in this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. It's all hearsay. It's just my opinion. It's just how I see things, and it may or may not have a bearing in the actual situation. So, let's see. YouTube, people get a lot of crap on YouTube, right? Don't do it if you can't handle the haters, because they will come after you, especially if you're onto something. They call it catfishing, right? Catfishing these days. I used to call it sock accounts. So there is a lot of good that comes out of YouTube, and it's really helping propel some cases forward, like the Gabby Petito case. That case got a lot of media attention, social media, and the family was very grateful for that. That led to a YouTubing van lifing family, the Red, White, and Bethune, realizing that they had captured the white van on videotape in that area. And they remembered that it had Florida plates because they were from Florida. And then they were able to find it and help law enforcement find Gabby and bring her home for her family to lay her to rest. As awful and tragic as that was, it helped bring some answers. I hate to say closure, but answers. And to change the case from a missing persons case to a death investigation is a very crucial pivot. And we're at that pivot now with Kylie after Adventures with Purpose located her remains. So there was a big case here in Ohio a few years ago, Steubenville, if anyone's heard about it. It was about 9 years ago, and it was a horrible SA situation with multiple offenders, multiple witnesses, and I think one victim. Horrible, horrible, horrible. It all got glossed over and swept under the rug, and then some web sleuths found out about it a couple of years later, and they just hammered away at the case and found out who these kids were, and they were connected. Their parents were pillars of the community, and they were able to get away with it until the web sleuths got in there, and at least 2 of them got prison sentences. So it's not all just for fun and games. I mean, I think people like me are very serious about wanting to help humanity, wanting to help justice, wanting to help these victims when they are not able to help themselves. So in an investigation, you have the 3 OBS, as I like to say. I got this from a cute movie called Zero Effect with Ben Stiller and Bill Pullman, Ryan O'Neal. Almost said Upchurch. So the 3 OBS are objectivity, observation, and obvious. So it's easy to remember that you're going to try to be objective, easy to remember that you're going to be observant. I mean, that's really obvious, but the obvious, sometimes what's right in front of us, you got all these old cliches like you can't see past your own nose, you can't see the forest through the trees, a fish doesn't know that it's wet until you take it out of the water. There's so much that is so obvious that is so hard to see. So the 3 OBS: objectivity, observation, and obvious. So let's get into it. We've got this sanctuary out there, the Prosser Creek Family Campground, where these kids have been doing these fight clubs. It sounds like most weekends. They've got their little tiki bar set up. They got shots and other drinks listed on a menu with price tags. And what I just found out yesterday is that drinks are free if you're willing to fight. So that's how they get people to fight. And, we all know that there was at least an argument with Gabby and a female that was said in the Adventures with Purpose video. Maybe a physical altercation. Something happened and everybody left at 12:30. Something bad had happened. So these frenemies, as I like to call them, that were at the party, that were affiliated with Kylie, they've been throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what will stick as far as these theories of what happened to her. Where'd she go? So when it was a missing persons case, they tried to really push the abduction theory. Some kind of stranger danger, some random Ronnies that showed up with all these drugs, and they were so old, and they were tough people from the big cities crashing our party, us little kids here out in the rural area. So, maybe they were trying to pin it on some random people. Maybe they were trying to pin it on a Nate C, to be specific, the one who was arrested on August 10th for his alleged involvement in the death and essay of a 15-year-old a couple months prior to that. There's also a Nate H that we've been hearing about that was allegedly Kylie's current romantic interest. Maybe there was a rivalry with Sammy and Kylie about Nate. I don't know. Nate H, that is, not the HC. But apparently both of these Nates were in their circle. So when that quit being a viable option with her being discovered, that she wasn't just like around the world sold into trafficking, I still think she could have been abducted. I think it's looking more likely that the abduction was by one of these frenemies, or more than one of these frenemies. And once her remains were discovered by Adventures with Purpose, the drunk driving scene or option became very prolific amongst the frenemies, and just pushing that narrative. Oh, she was just drunk driving. It happens all the time. Could happen to any of us, right? And that's not been going so well since she was in the back of the vehicle. You got to think about the vehicle. I know we've all thought about it, but I want to do just a little demonstration with my hands here. Here's the nose of the car going into the water. If you're sitting in the front seat and that nose flips the car over, you're going to remain in that front part of the vehicle, right? If you're sitting in the back and the nose flips over, you might slide to the front, or you might stay stuck in the back. If the car goes in backwards, so like this way, this is still the nose, and you are in the front, the same thing's going to happen. When it goes in backwards, it's still going to flip over nose first because of the engine weight in the front. So if you're in the front, you're going to stay in the front. If you're in the back, you might stay in the back and you might slide to the front, but you're not going to slide from the front to the back. It's pretty clear. I'm just amazed the more I really wrap my head around it and conceptualize it, that yeah, it's really clear. She was in the back, the cargo back, and somebody put her there. More than likely, she did not put herself there. Let's say maybe she passed out there, but obviously she wasn't the one driving. So there was somebody else, at least one other person with her. And then with the windows being broken, the passenger side being broken out when it was in the water, when they discovered it, and the both back windows being partway down. So she could have gotten out if she was alert. Um, Somebody could have gotten out that passenger side. It's very curious that the passenger side was broken. That's unusual. I think usually when these cars are found, they're found with the windows rolled up. So you had two rolled down. And I say they're usually found rolled up when there's people still in there, because if the windows were broken or down, the people would have gotten out or tried to get out. So anyway, moving on from the abduction to the DUI to, now she was suicidal. And one of her friends, whose name starts with an A, posted to Kylie, "Glad you are no longer in pain." Okay, first of all, why are you making posts to Kylie? She's not going to see them. Jagger making his posts to Kylie. "I hope the peace you feel right now is what you wanted. I hope you are happy, living it up." I got news for you, Jagger. She's not alive. She's not living it up. She's not living it down. She's not living it anyway at all. And to imply that this was what she wanted is to imply that she was suicidal, or at the very minimum, quasi-suicidal. And, I think that the suspects, as I might want to call them, allegedly, are getting desperate. And they have had control over all these witnesses. They've been able to control the people that were at the party who might know something. But now they've got new witnesses. They've got Nick, the tow truck driver, the roadside assistance guy that was dispatched by AAA. And then they've got the people with Adventures with Purpose, Nick, the diver, Doug, who was also there on the boat at the time, and the other employees of Adventures with Purpose, or volunteers, whatever they call themselves, the other people that work with that crew. So these are all firsthand eyewitnesses that are not controlled by Sammy or Jagger or these other people who I'm extremely suspicious of. I've been suspicious of them from the outset. I've tried to keep an open mind. They're not kids, but they're not exactly seasoned adults. Anyway. 95%, or actually that's with little kids, that 95% of abductions are someone you know or a parent, but 80% roughly of murders, abductions, assaults are for adults, people that we know. Only 20% are like stranger danger. So it's important to keep in mind. It's really important to choose your friends wisely. I've said that before in another video, but seriously, the people that we trust, that we let get close to us, are the ones who get the opportunity to do things. So debunking the drunk driving. Obviously, we all know that Kylie could have slept off her alcohol, could have gotten a ride with somebody, could have called her mother to get a ride. She could have called a Lyft or an Uber. 12:30 on a Friday night in the Lake Tahoe area, I would imagine, is a very busy time for Uber. Not saying I don't think she... Oh, good, I have sound? Are you saying I have sound? Right on. Okay. Wow. Okay, very cool. That's exciting. I'm so new at this. I apologize. Thanks so much for your watching and for your comments. Oh, that's super cool. I'm frustrated just that I've done this several times already this morning. And I always like to say the date. I think it's September 7th, Wednesday. It's about 11 o'clock now. So let's get on with this. I want to keep it concise and wrap it up so that it's not too long of a video for people to watch. But the whole suicidal concept, this girl had just, busted her butt to get her high school degree a year or two, maybe even, so that she could get on with her life, so that she could study music at the community college and she could go on to pre-med at UC Santa Cruz. She had dreams, I think, of being a pediatric physician, maybe even a pediatric surgeon. And I'm still wondering how that arm got broke. If anybody knows, could you put that in the comments for me? That'd be really appreciated. But she had plans. She had a good support system around her. I don't believe she was suicidal at all. I mean, I just don't. It sounds more and more to me like it's typical run-of-the-mill domestic violence. In a domestic violent relationship, or a relationship that has a tendency toward that, the most dangerous time in the relationship is breaking up. And it sounds like Kylie and Jagger had broken up maybe more than once, on again, off again. It sounded like they were broken up when this happened. It sounds like she was interested in somebody else who was also at this party. It sounds like Jagger had made some posts that day that he did not want her going to this party. It's sounding to me like jealousy was a motive, maybe with vying for the same love interest with another female there. I don't know. But I want to say that it is not too early for law enforcement to start arresting people. They can arrest anybody who is obstructing justice. Of course, they want to do their arrests as carefully as possible so that they stick, right? But anybody who is obstructing justice, that includes the adults who might have influenced these kids to not talk to the authorities. Anybody who interfered with the investigation, provided false information, tampered with evidence, like deleting videos or texts or photographs, interfering with a witness or intimidating a witness. Totally illegal, totally arrestable with jail time. So the videotapes of the potential suspects that were early on in the case, when it was a missing persons case, are so important as evidence. Looking at the body language of these people is astounding. You've got little Miss Sammy doing her 180, saying, "Look at me. This is what I look like. Come talk to me. I'm the center of attention." Just basking in the glory of attention. I mean, it's crazy. And people there just looked like they were so offended and embarrassed for her, just like turning away and walking away. I mean, look at those videos again if you hadn't already noticed that. And then you had Jagger and Kate standing there like this when they're being interviewed by the Fox News in the parking lot in Reno. They're looking at the ground and they're just like, yeah, everything's fine. I'm sure she's safe and nothing's out of the ordinary in this current situation. The way they're hunched over and covering their groins with their hands is so indicative of defensive, protective. They're scared, they're vulnerable, they're trying to hide their vulnerability. It's so clear. So, Nick's account, Nick, the roadside assistance guy from AAA, getting dispatched out there, his account of the male and the female that were at this vehicle, part that got clipped in the video that was members only, and then the one that was to the public, was this little part where Nick says that the female there introduced herself to him as Kylie. He never said that he thought it was Kylie. He never said that it looked like Kylie. He never said that he thought it wasn't Kylie or that it didn't look like Kylie, in my recollection. But he was very specific in saying that she introduced herself as Kylie. And it seemed to me that he was really implying that he didn't buy it. And then the way those two were, what would you call it, patrolling the vehicle? You know, he described it as like an awkwardness between the two that they wanted to be on either side of him, is what it sounds like. It sounds like they were trying to patrol the vehicle or what was in it or both, and that they were trying to control him to some degree. So, getting his attention onto the seatbelt, getting his fingerprints onto the seatbelt, that was potentially a very clever move to get some random person's fresh fingerprints on that seatbelt buckle. So, they were distracting him, and the whole thing is very curious. Like, did they get him out there as an alibi to pretend she was still alive the next morning? Or did they just have to get him out there because they were so panicked that they couldn't figure out how to start the car? Maybe it was that they didn't really want to get him out there, but then when they did, they had this brilliant idea of getting his fingerprints on the seatbelt buckle. I don't know. Anyway, the only card that these suspects have now is to try to discount the actual witnesses. The only actual witnesses that we know of that seem to be speaking the truth are Nick and the volunteers with Adventures with Purpose. So here, these frenemies are coming out and just trying to shoot them down and just saying they're bullshit across the boards. They're just clout seekers. They're just opportunists. They're just looking for their 15 minutes of fame. I don't buy any of that. If that's the case, they would be under arrest once that's proven true. My guess is that their stories and Nick's story are going to be proven true by his videotape surveillance on his dash cam of the interactions out there at Boca Lake, Boca Reserve, whatever it's called. So I think that this is everything that I had to say. Did I already say that the people providing the misleading information for the investigation need to pay for that search? They need to pay financially for the 20,000 hours of manpower for the 16 days of 18 agencies and 60 professionals. They need to cough up the dough. In my opinion. So on that, I'm going to wrap it up here. I so much appreciate your likes, your clicks, your comments, and your subscribing. Thank you so much. This has just been really fascinating. Yesterday, I had 2,000 views on one of my videos. I couldn't believe it. A couple days before that, or the day before that, I had 1,000 views on another video. It was ahead of the one that then jumped ahead with the 2,000. Now, the one that was 2,000 yesterday is over 4,500. And the one that was 1,000 the day before that is over 2,500. So I am humbled. I am very appreciative. And I hope that I can keep learning and getting better at this so we don't have the trouble like we did with the lack of sound. Thanks again. Oh, and I want to say, give yourself permission to take it easy today. Relax. Even if you're at work, just give yourself a ticket to be chill. It's the best thing you can do for your health, your mental health, your physical health. Put your feet up. And, if you're not able to put your feet up, just try to give yourself a break. Thanks. I'll talk to you later. Okay, end.